Hello. Hey there. I am super excited today to bring you an inner view of Miss Kate Adams. And what I am most excited about sharing today is that when I crossed this woman's path, it was unforgettable. It was at a certification in Chicago where a friend said, "Oh, my girlfriend Kate, she's going to be flying in. She'll just stay with us and you'll love her." And when a friend says that, you're like, "Okay, I'm going to trust you on that." And she was right because what I gained from Kate was her incredible energy, the fact that she is passionate about whatever she chooses to do. And when you're around somebody who's really passionate about people, about serving, about her mission, it it makes you better. And so I love that time that we got to spend together in Chicago. And we were just reflecting yesterday that we have known each other not even a year, but she's that human that you meet and you're like, "Oh, I feel like we've known each other for years."
Yeah.
And she has so much to give and so many tips and learnings, and she's authentic and genuine. And I'm so excited for you all to learn from her today. So, Miss Kate, would you start by sharing a little bit more about you, like what you do, how you do it, how you came to where you are right now?
Yeah. So I always tell people my resume is definitely just Jesus because I've never been qualified for anything that I've done. So that's always fun. But now I am a financial advisor and I run a brokerage, and I have been in the industry for 10 years this summer, which is wild. Learned so much along the way about people and working with people and managing people, but also obviously finances and business. And so now I love to help business owners basically create winning financial strategies. So a lot of business owners are excellent at whatever they do. Obviously, they run a business in it, but they may not know all the tips and tricks to make their money work well for them. So I like to help people make and save more money and create strategies that help them do both.
I love it. Very cool. And what would you say is the biggest challenge that you have in your business?
Managing myself. No, just kidding. isn't isn't that always the case? But I would say the biggest challenge is juggling everything. As somebody that is, I run my business predominantly by myself. You have to do everything in the beginning, right? So I thankfully am to the point now where I'm, delegating things and hiring people to do some things that I don't want to do. But you still have to manage those things. You still have to make sure they're done right. And so it can definitely be a lot of responsibility. And it also can be a lot of, I don't know if stress is the right word, but just feeling like you have to do everything on your own, which obviously isn't true. But in the beginning, it definitely is because you're not at a place where you can hire those things out or you even know enough about the position to hire well for it.
Mhm. Yeah, that makes a big difference. And that
Mhm.
system and approach that you don't love, yet you've created a team. You've created a
Yeah.
team to fill in those gaps and spaces that it doesn't necessarily bring you joy, and
Right.
someone else is really good at it.
Yeah. And I think that's been key to how much growth that we've had just, in the last year and how much we're going to have this year. Because if I didn't have those systems in place like I do now, I don't think it would be feasible or even I would be able to do it all. At some point you have to realize like you're only one person, you only have so many hours in the day. And I know I have a family and all these other things that I have to take care of as well. And so, it's a lot. It can be a lot to juggle. So having a group of people and having people that you have things delegated to that can help and you can is just been a game changer.
So good. So, what would you say is the most important lesson that you've learned on the journey of success? Maybe both life, business, because that application that you wished other women knew.
So many lessons. Picking just one is definitely challenging, but I would say success isn't always linear. So there's a lot of times that you're going to feel like, man, I'm just crushing it. And then I also feel like there's times where you're like, okay, I feel like I'm getting crushed. So kind of balancing that and just knowing everything ebbs and flows in a season. And just because want to be doesn't mean that you haven't still made a lot of progress and accomplished a lot of things. I think it's hard, when we're climbing a mountain, we're always looking up. Sometimes we don't realize like how far we've already climbed on our journey. And so I think kind of looking back and taking times to reflect and be like, okay, I have come so far in the last 10 years. I never would be able to do what I'm doing now 5 years ago. But that doesn't mean, I'm not still growing and still learning. And so I think that's true in life and in anything. You're going to have some ebbs and flows and just staying the course. You said focus, right? Falling on course until successful. That is so monumental and true for success, is because there's going to be times where it doesn't feel good and it doesn't feel like you're doing as well as you want to be, but just staying on the course and not giving up and not quitting and not getting distracted, that's really, I think, the key to winning.
Oh, so true. And I think that that is so relevant in everything. It's not just in business, it's in life and sports and relationships and all those things. So that pursuit is important. Okay, so how do you maintain that focus and clarity on your vision, especially when you're faced with challenges or self-doubt?
I think challenges and self-doubt are everybody part of the journey and the process that everybody goes through, and I've done it too. And I think staying super clear on your goal and your why is really incredibly important for you staying focused and staying not only disciplined, but just not giving up. There's so many times where I feel like we're on course, and when we're on course, it's it's a matter of time before everything starts going wrong, right? They're all the challenges. Because I think like at some point God's testing, like, are you really committed to this? You know, like, are you really gonna stick with it?
Really want
And
this?
maybe it's God, maybe it's us, maybe it's the devil. But I always tell people I love when people face challenges and they stay committed, because those are the people that I'm like, okay, we can go to war together, right? You've faced some challenges, stuff's going wrong. That means you're on the right path, and we got to keep going and we got to go harder. And I think that those are opportunities for us to grow. Those challenges aren't there necessarily to stop us. They're there to help us get to the next level, because every time we overcome challenges and we grow. It's just like working out, you have to tear down that muscle for it to grow stronger. And that's true in everything in life. And so I always tell people, like, challenges, they're frustrating in the moment. They're so good for you and important for your growth. And so just staying focused on, hey, this is my why. This is why I'm doing this. Even the Bible says, without vision, people perish. And so knowing this is the vision that I have or that God has given me, and this is why I'm doing this. And no matter what happens, I'm going to stay the course to that vision.
Such a repeat of the clarity on the vision, and I love that. That is one of my favorite scriptures of without vision, the people will perish. Because it's like you get in the car and you're like, where are we going?
Yeah,
You have to know where you're going to be able to make some movement.
absolutely.
So, what daily habits or practices have been key to your personal growth and achieving your goals?
A lot. But I would say starting the day well is such a game changer for your whole day. So several things, but one of the things that is really key for my success is working out. So, there's a lot of studies out there on how important it is to be active and move your body and the endorphins that get released when you do exercise. But starting the day off with that, man, it gets my blood pumping. It makes me feel like I had a win. Those endorphins are pumping, and it just sets my whole day up, I feel like, to be more productive and successful. And then also, I eat well. So that's kind of a standard. I obviously have cheat days. I don't even call them cheat days, but I just, days where you eat bad. But for the most part, eating well, I think, is also really crucial, because when you eat crap, you feel like crap. So
Garbage
I can
in, garbage out.
absolutely, I can tell a big difference when I do eat bad and how I feel. I'm tired. I don't have any motivation. I'm like, I want to lay on the couch and watch TV and do nothing because I just don't feel good, you know? And when you're eating well, you're giving your body energy and fuel so that you can take on the day and all that comes with it. So that's something else that I think is more important than a lot of people want to give credit for. And then obviously spiritually, it's just kind of health all over, right? So our physical health, our mental health, our spiritual health. So spiritually, like, I like to listen to the Bible while I'm getting ready, just set my day up right. So the Bible says meditate on my words day and night. So I like to start my day with that. Obviously, I pray throughout the day with different things, but also I have started writing my prayers at night, thanks to you. So that was a good. I obviously pray. I'm not a big writer of my prayers until recently, but it's helped me be more, I don't know if disciplined is the right word, but intentional with that. And I like that. So that's been really good. And then just planning my day, usually at least the day before. So Google runs my life and my calendar. Everybody knows, like, if it's not being there, because, when you have a full life and calendar, you have to stay organized in those things and organized with your time, or, it's gone. So I'm trying to be really disciplined with my calendar and my time, and planning those things out to make sure that I get the things done that need to be done, and hopefully even more, right? So my to-do list is usually like, these are the things that have to get done. I'd like to do about 20 more, but we're going to knock out as many as we can after that. So
I love it. I love it. Well, and knowing that that to-do list is always growing, but really, having that priority and that routine, the ritual, the like non-negotiables. Yeah, it's core to your foundation. That's
and
awesome.
you feel better.
Yeah,
You feel better when you're like, okay, today went to heck. It didn't go as planned, but I at least got these 2 or 3 things done, and that happens to everybody. I mean, if my sister calls and says, hey, I need you to pick up my nephews, it doesn't, like, the rest of the day is done. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, I will drop everything and go get them or go do whatever we need to do. So, if I can just say, okay, well, at least I got these things done, that day is still a win, or it's still productive. And it wasn't a total, I'm not gonna say it was a total loss because I got to see my nephews, but in terms of business productivity or progress, I still made progress that day in my business, or, whatever it is that you're doing. So
yeah, makes a difference. And that prioritization so that you can say yes, because you're like, I've done this, and then I have the space to finish something up later.
yeah.
Such a key to our calendars as entrepreneurs. So important. So, if you
So
could give one piece of advice to a woman stepping into her power and striving for her best self, what would it be?
tough question. I'd say probably make yourself a priority. A lot of times, I think as women, we give and say yes and pour out until we have nothing left. And I've been guilty of this plenty of times. And so I think that's one thing that I had to learn is, in the Bible, it talks about my cup overfloweth, right? We are supposed to fill other people's cups out of the overflow of ours. you can't pour from an empty cup, right? So if we're not getting that cup refilled, and that, is spiritually, that's health, that's mentally, that's all the things that for ourselves first, then it's hard to be successful or 100% in anything else. Even like in the planes, right? They say put your oxygen mask on before assisting others. It's because if you're out of oxygen, you could die before you put that mask on somebody else or pass out, right? And so a lot of times I feel like, especially as women, we do this. We're trying to help all these other people, and then it's like we're passing out. We're sick, we're tired, and so just making sure that you are loving, yourself, and that you're realizing like Jesus loves you and wants you to make you a priority too. And that is an important part of you being able to operate at a high level.
Agreed. Yeah. I love that visual of the oxygen mask because it's so relevant to life in general because a lot of times when we find ourselves in those hard spots, we do need to actually breathe,
Yeah.
like really truly breathe and like take a moment, regroup and realize what's the next best step and ourselves first before we can serve anyone else.
Yeah.
So, how would you say that you balance ambition, rest, and ensuring you stay aligned with your values and avoid a burnout?
This is a great question, and something that I honestly have probably struggled with forever and still have not mastered. I definitely, I mean, I'm pretty ambitious. I'm pretty go, go, go. And used to, especially, I've gotten better. I'm not good, but I've gotten better. Used to, I would literally go until I would be sick. And I mean, honestly, like I would push, I would not sleep, I would do all the things until literally my body was like, we are done. And I would be sick. I mean, some sort of virus, something. And so I've done, that's one thing, like my goals for this year is to get better at sleep habits because I struggle with that really bad. And just knowing like rest is important for your success as well. And without proper rest, it is hard to be 100%. Um, I'm pretty good at going with no sleep, but a lot of people aren't. But that's also not healthy. That's not healthy, and that's not great for my body or for whoever I'm around. And so that's one thing. And then also focusing on what you can control and really leaving the rest to God, because there's so many things that are completely outside of our control that we worry about. You know, and not that they aren't important things, right? I used to be like, there was times that I was like super concerned with politics and all these things, and I still like to be aware, but I realized at one point when I was like staying up late and researching all this stuff, and I'm like, I'm not a politician. This is not actually beneficial for me or for my clients or anybody. Like, I am called to be a financial advisor. Does that mean I need to be aware of what's going on and how it affects my clients and my job? Absolutely. But if I can't control any of it and I can't change anything, it's not worth me taking away time and energy from what I can control and my calling and where I'm supposed to be putting my energy to focus all of that on things that I have no control over, and it's not my job, So that's something that I think is also really helpful, because sometimes we spend so much energy and time on things that, one, don't matter, and two, we have no control over.
I think the reminder is so good there, especially with that beautiful word, because it can lead us down to so many rabbit holes and
Oh
so
yeah.
many spots that it's like, well, is that true? And is this true? And like you said, it's not a level of expertise that's giving you the impact that you
Yeah.
really need, want, and desire. And because your company does a lot of its own homework and support systems to know what to offer and how to offer it, then you can rest in it
Yeah.
and be able to step in and either serve yourself, serve someone else with that time. And I think that time is so valuable to all of us that recognizing what we do with it is so empowering. And, and that time of spending in a place that doesn't necessarily give you control or joy,
Hmm.
or it
Yeah.
gives you more worry or fear or, it's such a good space. And I think that nowadays we have more distractions than we've ever had before. So it's like that inventory of checking in when we feel like I'm not getting what I want done and accomplished. Okay, well, what are you doing with what you have? So that's really
And I
good.
think that's a big thing too, kind of going back to, what you said, like what's an important lesson. You have to manage yourself and your time. Like that is, I mean, we all have the same exact, like I always feel like I never have enough time, but I realize like the president of the United States has the exact same 24 hours that I do. Right. And he's running multiple businesses. He's doing all these things. And obviously he has support and different help and whatever. But you look at like, major successful people like Bill Gates, Elon Musk, all these people that you can say, whether you like them or not,
Right.
you can't deny, right? Whether you like them or not, it doesn't matter. You can't deny that they've accomplished a lot,
Hmm.
right? They're running multiple businesses, they're doing all this stuff. And they have the exact same time as we do. They're just much better at managing their time and delegating things that they don't need to spend their time on.
Yep.
And so I think that was a huge lesson for me in really realizing like if I want to be successful at this level, I have to manage my time at this level or higher, right? And so I think that makes a big difference.
I agree. I agree. And I think that adjustment before the burnout, you know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
if we're getting to that point where we're like maxed, and whether you own your own business, you want to own your own business, you're going back to school, you're wanting to level up in life in general or your health, relationships, all of that is 100% in awareness first and what you've gotten so far, which is, like same thing, like those burnout. I could tell you when I was running for certain contests and different things, and I was grabbing junk and I was cutting the sleep and cutting the water and like I was totally shortcutting all these different things. And then your body's like,
Yeah.
done, we're done. I don't need that pen. Um, so just recognizing that's so good. If you could give one piece of advice to like if you were your future self, let's say any amount of time that you would say 1 year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, that whatever that time frame person looking back, what would you give yourself for advice today?
It's hard to think about my future self now because I look at my past self, right? And the place that I am now and the things that I know now, I would say a lot different. I would say a lot of different things to my past self than my past self was able to think about my current self.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think it's hard to like look in the future because I don't know about you, but like life has been very unexpected. I had my plan that I thought was really good, and God laughed at it. And so, here we are. So there's been a lot of things that have been different than what I thought they would be. And so it's hard to say in the next 5 years or 10 years, I may be in a completely different place. But I think that that's something, looking back, what I would say to my previous self and what I hope would continue is just staying flexible and like having joy in the journey because typically the journey doesn't go how we think it's going to go, but all things do work together for the good of those who love the Lord and are called according to his purpose. And that's something that I've stood on for years and I've found to be true throughout my life is things that didn't feel good and felt like this is it, this is gonna do me in. And then you get through it on the other side and you realize, no, that was because I was actually being set up to be elevated or to be put in the right room or with the right people or in the right position. It just, because we were on this path or whatever and something felt off. But all things do come together and work together for good. And so I think just having that trust and faith and keep moving forward and knowing, when you're in the right spot, it's going to work out.
It is. I agree. I agree.
I
Is
know
there,
that's the right answer that you wanted,
it's
but
beautiful. It's beautiful. If, is there anything else on your heart for someone who's watching, that you would like to give any advice?
I would say, especially to women, like, don't be competitive. I think I see a lot of women that they're all about like supporting women until they see somebody doing better than them. And then it's like, oh, let me come at them. And it's like, why? You know what I mean? I think you and I, and I love this about you. And that's why we're obviously good friends too. But like, we want people to win. Like, I want everybody to win. I'm like over here, like a just cheerleader, Yeah, I'm like, you got this, keep going. And I genuinely like, whether I'm winning or losing in that moment, like, I want my clients to win. I want my friends to win. I just really genuinely like, I want people to win. I want them to be successful and I want them to be happy. And I think that's something that I would challenge other women, especially the men do it too, but women, especially, like, we're a little bit more competitive, I feel like, or I don't know how to explain it, but kind of competitive, I guess. And I am very competitive, don't get me wrong, but like, you're competing with yourself.
Mhm.
My standard isn't what anybody else looks like or what anybody else is doing. It's, am I being my best self? And if not, what can I do to be better? And so that's something that I would say too, is just focus every day on like being your best self in that day and go crush it.
I love it. So good. You're the best. I'm so grateful to have crossed your path. And I will never forget the moment when Shannon says, "Oh my gosh, you're just gonna love her." And I was like, I probably will. And then it was more than that because you're not just beautiful on the outside, you're beautiful on the inside. And that how you carry yourself is consistent in all things. And that's beautiful because it makes it so authentic and that you know what to expect. And that's something that's really nice, especially with referrals and the fact that in your business you work, based on referrals and you want to work with anyone who's open to the change and the opportunity to do something great right here now versus all the things they coulda, woulda, shoulda, and start right
Yeah.
here where they are. So,
I tell my clients every day, we can't change the past, right? I teach a financial discipleship class, which I literally did this afternoon. And one of the girls was like, man, I've learned so much. Like, I wish I would have taken your class 20 years ago.
mhm.
And I'm like, well, can't go back in time, right? But I tell my clients all the time, I'm like, we can make better decisions today than we made yesterday or 20 years ago, right? So as you know better, you can do better. And we can't cry over the last 20 years, but we can change our today and our future. And so that's something, especially in finances, people hold on to so many emotions and so much guilt and things in the past, and they're keeping them from having a successful future. And so that's one thing too that I would say, like, I do the financial rewires where I help people clear up those traumas from their past that are kind of preventing them from having success in their financial futures. So that's one thing that I do help with as well. But you want to tackle those things. You don't want to let the things in your past, if it's in your past, leave it in your past. Don't let that prevent you or keep you from having greater success or breaking through barriers today and in the future.
Yeah, your legacy matters.
Absolutely. And we're building it every day.
Yep.
It's Rome wasn't built in a day and your legacy won't be either. And so just staying consistent and growing and always doing better, I think is key.
So wonderful. Thank you, my love. You're the best.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.